Good afternoon, good evening, good metal. My name's Coop and welcome to the Spoken Metal Show. This episode is with Daniel Saleh. We've been trying to get Daniel. I've been trying to get Daniel on the show for a while because we're back and forth and kind of doing things. But obviously now in the lockdown, you get a chance to corner people and you get him on the show. And he kind of confesses that he listens to the show. Who does that? Confesses that he's something of a kind of a fan who's waiting to come on the show. That's great. And I think it really comes across in what we talk about and stuff. This is nearly like 2 hours long, this whole conversation, which is superb. And it's great because you can start to really kind of get into an entire person's kind of life and really kind of find out who they are and what they're talking about and stuff. I think it's really interesting. I always like the long form podcasts where people talk for a long period of time because you get past all the superficial stuff and really get deep and involved. And Daniel's a really an interesting person. He's a great guitar player, great musician as well. Really wants to do the best he can and wants to perform the best he can and write the best stuff and is constantly looking at his playing. And that's why he makes such a great teacher as well. The feedback so far from the last couple of shows has again been really, really great. And I encourage you to always be sending any ideas and you want, anything you think about the show, just stuff you like, stuff you didn't like, things you hated, things you loved. Any kind of suggestions for things that we should do in the show, and they all get taken on board. And most of the suggestions, if not all the suggestions, were really positive and great. So I'm going to start to bring some of those ideas in as well. I did the first live show, I suppose, if you want to see it that way, as a Facebook Live thing. It was littered with technical difficulties and problems of all kinds. But that's the way these things work. The first times I was doing the podcast, it was littered with mic problems and stuff like that. And hopefully you're seeing things improve, and they will improve, and the live show on Facebook Live will also improve as well. It was interesting that I got a message through when I was at kind of a point where I was thinking maybe I shouldn't do the Facebook Live thing, where someone was saying that it was important for them to listen to that show, if you will, because they didn't get to see many of their friends or socialise much, and it kind of answered a part of what they needed. They're having a show where I kind of babbled on about nonsense for an hour and a half or whatever. So you always forget, don't you? You always forget you're not just playing for you, you're playing for someone else. The thing you might be doing might be important to other people in different ways, and they may realise that they can do things as well. You may be inspiring people. And I don't think that I'm this kind of inspirational figure at all, but I'm thinking that some people are listening to this and getting something from it. And that's all I ever wanted it to be. Get something from it, enjoy it, maybe break up the day somewhat. And this one with Daniel is a really good example of this. This is a great conversation. It's certainly one of my favourite episodes I've done. And what's interesting is this is episode 83. We're really only 17 episodes away, if you want to see it, from 100 episodes, which is spectacular. I've never really thought I'd get past 5 or 6, but here we are. And this is all thanks to you and the people listening to it. If no one listened to this, I wouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. But the listenership is growing, and I just encourage everybody to share this with other people if they think that may enjoy the show. Because some people who are friends will go, "What? You've got a podcast? Still don't know that I do this." So it's really, really important that you suggest this to other people and tag other people in this as well. But let's get on. Let's get straight into what you came for. And this is a conversation with Daniel Saleh. So I'm speaking to my friend Daniel Saleh. Those of you that are amongst the community of guitar players that listen to the show will know Daniel being a fantastic guitar player in and of itself. But it's there's a whole other load of stuff we need to get into with Daniel. I've known Daniel a long time. Been in and around the scene a long time with Daniel. There's a ton of stuff we've got to get through. So, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Saleh, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to this because I have listened to the shows, and a good few friends of mine have been on. Like obviously Craig was on, who just the guitar wizard that is Craig.
Isn't it mad? Like Craig's like he doesn't think his playing's that great, and he doesn't like playing in front of people. I'm like, if I could play like you, I'd be fucking 24-hour live stream and be playing. I'd be playing all the time.
I think with Craig as well, you never quite know what the video is going to be. So, but the one thing you do know is that you're going to feel a bit sick after watching it. Cause
fucking right. Yeah, he scares a lot of up-and-coming guitar players. Yeah. He's just... the conversation we had on the pod was all about I was like, afterwards when we finished up, I was like, you need to start posting more videos. And he was like, oh, well, I don't know what the quality of it will be like. And I said, just keep posting them and get better as you get on, because what happens when you see a good guitar player is you get that sinking feeling where you're like, fuck, I'm not as good as that. or I'm never going to be as good as that. And you kind of go away and you go, you know what? I'll try that. I can do that little section at the beginning, or I can do that tapping bit that he did, and you pick apart it, and eventually you go, oh, do you know what? It's doable, this. And you start playing a little bit, and then you go back and you watch, someone else, and you go, and the circle continues. But it does help you, I believe, make you a better guitar player, watching insanely good guitar players like Craig.
I think that's why, because obviously when I made the Liverpool Guitar Collective group, the main reason for doing that was because I just knew so many good guitar players like Phil Dyer, Jack Gardner, Tim Cunningham, there's just so many, and so many from different areas as well. Like Charlie McEwen's a guy on the group. He's like a wizard with acoustic guitar, all open tunings and this kind of thing. So. And I think, as it's grown, we've got, about 177 members now, and, it's great, because, most days there's just...
Yeah, and what's interesting about the Guitar Collective, and I'll put some links on the pod as well, is it's a really positive group, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
I think, though, Liverpool's a bit incestuous in the music scene, so, everyone kind of knows someone from, somewhere, so, Liam Acko in the group, I've never really met properly in person, but I feel like he's one of my best mates.
Yeah.
And then me and this guy in there called Joe Sullivan, who's a wicked guitar player. 2 weeks ago, I think it was around the time that Craig did this podcast, we realised that there was a gig that we'd done. I mean, this might even be around Hollow Point era, where John Carden was with them.
Yeah.
I think that might be that far back, but me, Joe Sullivan, and Phil Dyer all played on this gig, and we didn't even know.
Didn't even know.
Yeah, because it was did you play at that gig? And it was yeah, I did. And I was God, how mental is it that, fast forward, 15, 16 years, and we're just part of, this guitar group that just posts, shreddy videos and stuff.
Well, you say that, but there's also, some wonderful stuff where we... especially yourself, just share musical compositions. You were sharing some tabbed stuff and some music stuff, and people would have a go. And it's one of the things that kind of puts people off, but certainly when they start kind of going down the black hole and looking at guitar sites and forums, and obviously is that it might be the most toxic part of the internet. Guitar forums, aren't they? Maybe gaming forums are on there, but certainly guitar forums are fucking brutal. They're brutal, and it just seems so different.
I think the thing that burns my head out is when you see it's that age-old thing. If someone posts a Malmsteen video, you'll get someone who's he's fast, he has no fucking feel, and all this kind of...
Yeah.
The flip side of the coin is someone will post a Hendrix video, and people will be oh, he just plays the same stuff. And we've all been there, definitely. If I go back when I was 15,
yeah,
I would have been fucking horrible. If it wasn't metal and because I was really into bands Decapitated and just proper nasty, gnarly kind of stuff. I think anything else I would have just been nah. But the good thing with the group, I think, is there's a lot of banter. It seems like a safe space for guitarists.
It is. It totally is. Yeah, I think what that's it goes against the grain of what's out there, because like you say, one of the things we touched on the podcast with Craig was there's the YouTube community as well with guitar players, where people put up their playing, and for the most part, even if it's brilliant, it gets torn apart, and you're just what the fuck?
You get arguments that aren't even anything to do with the video. You only have to scroll down about 5 comments. But I think as well, with the guitar group, I just made it literally because I thought if I can get this guy connected with this guy, and if I can just get these guys I don't even know why I'm saying me I'm some fucking thing, but I just knew so many players. But I just knew so many players who I thought if they were in one space, because I've got mates who are guitarists, and I'm not gonna say names, but they don't put themselves out there enough, and I've had endless conversations where I've been dude, just post some videos, because if people saw you play, they'd eat it up, So I'm hoping over as the group progresses, I'm hoping more and more people. So more and more people now are definitely posting stuff There's definitely like a core, I think, that I kind of post quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I always make an effort to comment on like every post as well if I can. Just because guitar's like the best thing in the world to me.
I agree. Yeah,
It's the only thing I ever wanted to do.
Yeah,
you know?
I just wanted to play. Yeah.
So, like, you know.
I think it's like, it's one of those it's like you say, I think the right way to explain it is a safe space. I think it's a safe space. It's a really good community against the grain of what is maybe out there from a guitar playing community. But I think let's go back a little bit here then. So let's talk about the first time you kind of hear music and you hear guitar music. When's that become a thing in your life?
So I always knew. Well, I can't say I always knew. I was at 3, don't really know fuck all. But like, I look back, and at the age of like 3, 4, I started kind of like going through my mum and dad's cassette. They had these drawers that were full of cassettes, like kind of like a CD wrapper for cassettes. And I remember just going through and like, you know, I'd pick out the ones that like looked cool, and I'd be like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And the first 2 albums that like changed my life, and at a young age, were Queen Greatest Hits 2.
Okay,
like
with the black border and the red square.
I could like, I reckon I could probably list the track listing fairly accurately, you know. And then Crossroad by Bon Jovi.
Okay, so that's post haircuts John Bon Jovi, isn't
it? It's like a greatest hits.
Is it? All right, I think they did that before they did the other thing, where he cut his hair, didn't he? And there was a big because someone cut the hair.
Woman, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked like the classic Karen, didn't he? So Crossroads was so that was a collection, was it? Okay, that's tough. That like, because that's not like just albums. That's 2 best ofs, pretty big artists with a big clutch of songs.
I think what it was up until that point, like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I can remember sitting there watching S Club 7 Miami and thinking, this is amazing, you know. and that was later on, but I still liked like rock music a lot. My dad's favorite band, Iron Maiden. I mean, and them, they to me, Dave Murray is the reason that I play guitar, you know.
Yeah, doesn't get a lot of well, he does get respect, but he doesn't get maybe as much of a shout, Dave Murray, as he maybe should do. He's obviously in Bruce's and Steve's shadow a little bit, you know, them being the main star. But I think he steers the band really well. I watched a documentary where they were talking. Bruce was saying that a lot of the time they'll be like, what's Dave think? Do you know what I mean? And he'll quietly go, no, we're not doing that. And you get the feeling he's maybe a little bit of the conscience of the band, like, you know. But what a player! What a player!
I always remember my dad had it was like a DVD. It was like the very first like kind of DVDs, you know. And it was like a compilation of like Iron Maiden live clips. And I always remember
it was Iron Maiden kind of
so it was like a DVD montage of like Iron Maiden live videos.
Right.
I always remember there's Hallowed Be Thy Name, and I remember there's a bit in the song where he only goes and like Dave Murray's like, he's got fucking dead long like blonde hair, and he's got like that skinny blue like jumpsuit looking thing on. Yeah. He's got his like foot up on the monitor. Yeah. And like just that, because
that was the image.
Just that like burned in my brain. I was like, I just want to be Dave Murray. And I think that's the reason I love Strats, man. I'm such a Strat guy.
Yeah, and he always has been a Strat guy, hasn't he, as well, Dave? I don't think I've ever seen him with anything else. Acoustically and stuff. I don't think I've seen him.
There's a few road photos of him with a Les Paul.
Right, okay.
And I think they used Ibanez Roadsters as well, for like a limited period of time. But like, aside from, I mean, Adrian's the one who's always kind of used like other stuff, you know.
Yeah, I think he's got a signature, hasn't he? He's got a couple of signatures. Yeah, Jackson, that was it. Yeah. That's a really, when you think about it as well, but imagine being the guitar player in Iron Maiden. There's 3 of you.
Imagine that for the last 25
Yes, I have, Coop, for the last 20 years. But what a fucking tough job. That's a tough job. There's a lot of guitar real estate there. going on, isn't it? That must be, I remember when I first Iron Maiden for me was Power Slave and that kind of era, and then to some degree kind of fell in and out of love with them around like Somewhere in Time, and then it was kind of like Live After Death and stuff was really kind of big for me.
Amazing album.
From a guitar point of view, I never saw, as crazy as this is going to sound, I never saw Iron Maiden as necessarily a guitar band, even though it's guitar all over the place in the solos. I was always, they were the song guys, like they really beautifully crafted songs, like it just happened to be have good guitar playing in. But now I'm thinking about it, one of the first things I learned was Phantom of the Opera.
It's one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, and that's a guitar instrumental. I heard that first because of the Lucasade ad that it was on.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Wow. So basically, the advert's dead simple. It's just some guy at the bricks thing to get off. It's like and he just runs, and then just as he crosses the line, it's like, oh yeah, and it's like Lucasade, take this and get energy and shit.
I love every era of Maiden. I even love Blaze Bayley. There's the one album that I thought was a bit shit was Virtual X, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was. I think every band's got that slightly weird album that's there. That's definitely theirs. Like
I feel Blaze gets such a hard time though, because
does he? Yeah.
And like I you listen to the X Factor and like songs like Sign of the Cross, and that's a fucking tune.
Yeah, the man can sing. He really can. He does his solo stuff now, and he tours the world still off the back of that. He's a fantastic singer,
I think the issue is with Blaze Bayley. I think Blaze Bayley could never do Bruce's part where Bruce could do Blaze's part. I think that was
that's a fair thing. Yeah.
I think that's where, to be fair, I think with Paul Di'Anno as well. Like, to me, I listen to early Maiden and like half of it sounds like punk.
Well, if you look at Paul, like, it's just for those listening that maybe aren't as familiar with Iron Maiden, Paul was the original singer when they were going around like pubs and stuff, and then and Bruce was in Wolfsbane and then got essentially poached and put into there. Was with the band for a long time, and then there was a little bit of a falling out, and Blaze came in, and now we're back to Bruce. But Paul, if you look at original sort of pictures of Paul, he wears kind of leather and stuff, but it does lean more to the punk side of things, like the Halford type of stuff. It leans more to that.
I was literally just thinking he looks like Rob Halford's hench younger brother, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's massive, Paul. What do you like? You think about he's massive. But that's the thing as well, is that, for me, I lean towards Priest more than I do Maiden. For me, the two are very much along the same lines. Album cover, artwork, that type of thing, guitar lineup, quality of songs. But I leaned, for me, whereas yours was Dave Murray, mine was like Glenn Tipton and KK Downing. So the picture of KK Downing on live, Priest live, with that I think it was a Hamer V. Yeah. And I was just like, that's what, to me, I was like, that's what a fucking rock star looked like. And that was only superseded when I watched the Guitar Expo from Seville, and Vi comes out with the gem, the DMC gem with the green thingy, and then I switched to wanted it to look like that. That was what I switched to.
I think the first guitar player, like guitarist, I think that I really got into was Malmsteen. I think Vi's always someone who like I've never got. I mean, there's an appreciation there because they're unbelievably good, I think, I had lessons with like Neil Mellor was one of the first teachers I ever had, and I remember sitting in his house and he played me a song called Magic Mirror. Yeah. And I just remember the guitar solo just fucking tore me head off. I was like, and I think Malmsteen was the first guitar player where I listened to him and went, holy shit, like that's how good you can get. Yeah. Because it was just aggression.
I remember hearing Trilogy, and it's to me, someone said it to me, and it was stuck every time I thought about it, was that his playing was like water coming out of a jug. It was just that smooth and that effortless and that beautiful. And a lot of the times, people will listen to Malmsteen. Malmsteen, I think he probably gets a rough time of it, because I'm led to believe he can be a bit of an arsehole.
I definitely think there's some truth to that.
I know a couple of people who've been in and around tours with him on and stuff, so I know he can be. But do you know what? We all can be a little bit of an arsehole. That can happen. But
I kind of feel, what are you expecting from him? That the guy's walking around with like 4 Rolexes on.
Yeah, and driving Ferraris and stuff. Yeah. Like, what do you expect? He's gonna.
He's obviously got like, you know.
But you think to yourself, his hero was Richie Blackmore. Yeah. And Richie Blackmore's crazy. He's crazy. Yeah. Richie Blackmore's crazy. And he was seen as being a bit of an egotist as well. When he was with Deep Purple, he was seen as being an egotist as well. So and everybody surrounding you telling you're God. Isn't it funny though? Time, I think, has been very sort of kind to Malmsteen, because he started off being king of the shredders, and everybody going, yeah, but he's still the fastest, best guy out there, whatever. Then he kind of fell out of love, and fuck knows what he was doing during the early 90s then. Do you know what I mean?
I think he was making his own albums, because honestly, the guy's like... I think the last few albums he's done, he's like self-produced himself, and he sounds awful. Like, I just wish he'd go to a fucking studio and get like a really good like engineer to do it.
And it's only now though that he's kind of almost come back into favour a little bit, because of all the bedroom guitar players and people like Toshi and stuff and Animal Leaders and that type of thing. They always give him a bit of a name check. Because they're like, he kind of started some of that very technical playing,
Well, those players like Implantaria and stuff, but I think with Malmsteen, like everyone just wanted to be like Van Halen until Malmsteen came out. And then,
yeah.
And I also think there's the G3 Denver DVD. It's Satriani, Vi, and Malmsteen, and they do Rockin' in the Free World. So they go through the song, like everyone's kind of, and then they have like a solo at the end. And the best thing is, right, you can just Vi and Satriani are so in sync. You can, they're just like they've known each other so long, and anyway, and Malmsteen just blisters through this solo, like no consideration for the fact that it's like a fucking Neil Young song. He just absolutely melts, and you can go on YouTube and hear it. Yeah. And then when Vi comes in afterwards, it's all just a bit like,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird. If we can give any props to Malmsteen, if there are people out there that don't like him, that's cool. But the one thing you cannot deny is I know when I'm hearing Yngwie. I'll know when I'm hearing him. He's undeniable at what he sounds like. I know all that diminished classical stuff and Phrygian, all that stuff is. It's definitely him. If anything, he's found his voice. That's the thing that gets levelled at the current crop of guitar players, doesn't it? Is that, yes, they're very technically proficient, but they haven't got their own voice. Well, that gets levelled a lot, doesn't it?
That's one of the, again, going back to this thing where people talk about Malmsteen and they go, he's got no feel. And it's like, playing aggressively is emotive playing in its own right. And I think you listen to a lot of guitar players. There's loads of guitar players out there who are unbelievably technically good, but musically, to me at least, it's a bit redundant,
Yeah.
And I don't put Malmsteen in that bracket. I'm biased because I like Malmsteen, but the thing, like, if you listen to a song like Blitzkrieg, like when he goes into the solo, it's so fast, but he's picking so hard. Well, he's probably not, but it sounds like he's picking really hard because he's on a Strat,
Yeah.
And just like, every time I hear it, makes my face just go like, so like, it's so aggressive, I love that. And I think, you go on like Guitar Universe is a big page on Facebook, and like the amount of times I have seen people go, oh, Malmsteen's overrated. And I think, how can anybody say that? Like, he's been one of the top guitarists of the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I think when history looks back at him like 100 odd years or whatever, he will be seen as being an important guitar player. He just will be. And I think that I think that's what gets leveled, isn't it? Like it's like, oh, it's too many notes or whatever it may be. But sometimes technique can be an effect as well. If you do a huge run as a crescendo to the end of something, it's a massive build-up. They can do it in an orchestral thing, and there's like, 70 instruments playing it, complicated stuff. That doesn't get leveled as being, well, there's loads of notes, there's too many instruments, there's too many clarinets. What the fuck? Shut the fuck up. It's like, the musical swell of it works, so enjoy it for what it is, I often...
The price you pay for a free society is listening to a load of bedroom guitar players chat.
Yeah. About how many bedroom guitar projects are going to come from this lockdown, though, eh? How many albums are going to come from this? And there's probably going to be some good stuff, but there's going to be a lot of shit. There's going to be a lot of shit.
I think, I was talking to Vanessa, the girl that I'm in a band with the other day, and I said, I don't think I've practiced this much in years, because obviously, working as a musician, gigging every weekend, teaching, like, I never really had a lot of time to sit and like dedicate to practicing, because I have other hobbies other than guitar as well, but like this lockdown, I really ignited that kind of flame again, I think, and to the point where I have time, so I'm sat there for like 5 hours just working on different things, but it felt nice, it felt organic. I mean, it's a shame that it's in such awful circumstances, but you've got to make the most of it, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, it's like the people. Obviously, the situation is awful, and we want it to pass, and it means a lot of stuff to the industry, especially to a working musician like yourself. But if we can take some positives, it's meant people have gone back and kind of looked at their playing, gone back and kind of how their setup is and all that type of thing. They've looked at how they work with their fans and interact with their fans. And now we're getting live streams with famous musicians who break down songs and equipment and recording techniques and what have you. And it's almost like a personal phone call with them, where they're kind of in front of the camera live going, okay, ask me a question, what pedal did you use on this? And that's a really great thing. I hope we don't lose that when we come out of this and everybody's like, okay, agree. The curtain comes up again and we don't see that closed world, I hope it continues. I was watching Vi last night doing his things, and he's talking for like 2 hours about ear training and kind of mental sort of outlooks about approaching stuff. And I was like, you'd never be able to get this if this didn't happen, this lockdown. You'd never get that access. Imagine if Malmsteen now was doing 2 hours talking through how he breaking down Blitzkrieg and how he plays it and what he does. You'd be absolutely enamored. You'd be
glued.
Exactly.
I've been watching Richie Faulkner, from Judas Priest.
Yes, yeah.
Such a good guitar player. Like he does a lot of kind of like just playthroughs of songs and stuff, and he's such a riff-oriented guitar player.
Yeah.
Like, everything he plays just sounds so good. Like, when he's running through like Priest riffs and stuff, it's like he doesn't sound like someone sat in their bedroom playing Priest riffs. It just sounds it sounds real, It's like
he was such a good choice for Priest. I mean, you can imagine, like, Priest have, especially in the last couple of years, have had some real mad stuff. Like, in many ways, parallel Maiden with Blaze is that they got Ripper Owens in when he had the falling out with Rob, and Ripper comes in and does some stuff with him, and they get Rob back, and it's a big love, and everything's great. And then fucking KK gets pissed off and essentially retires, and then poor Glenn is sidelined, as well. And you think straight away, you're getting Richie in as well. I knew Richie before he joined the kind of Priest, and he's always been the guy who's the safe pair of hands. Great player on all fronts from a solo point of view, songwriting, riffing, everything. He's a very complete player. And I thought that was just a really good move to get him in. And like, he's adopted the whole ethos. He isn't a hired gun. He's totally adopted the whole ethos of joining that band. And he probably posts about that band more than the band themselves do. Yeah. He was the perfect choice for them. And seeing him live, and watching him play some of the older stuff like The Sentinel, which is one of my favourite Priest songs, and closing your eyes and you're like, that's a pretty good fucking attempt that is that song, And then he gets like a signature guitar as well and stuff, and then it gets made cheaper.
The thing I do like that about the signature guitar is that he actually plays it. It's not like there's no bullshit like where he's got a signature guitar, but the one he's using on stage is
Yeah.
like pimped out. And like he says that quite often in his live streams. He's like, "What's the point of me having a signature guitar?"
Exactly. Like the backlash that we're talking about, kind of toxicity in the guitar community. The backlash that faced Vi when he launched the next gem. Well, it's not gem. It's called the Beer. With the two holes, and there was a fucking raft of people kicking off about that. There was a ton of people kicking off that it was like, oh, it looks awful, and this, that, and the other. But what was interesting is that it's still, as much as it's the guitar he does now use, he still fitted the Fernandez sustainer to it. That doesn't come stock, and it's always bothered me about like signature guitars. Is that for me it should be exactly what that guy plays on stage. Exactly. If you want to get that, it should be exactly that. If you from a nuts and bolts point of view, if you want to put your different strings on and run it through different amps and stuff, that's fine. But a signature guitar for me should be exactly what that guitar guy plays. Otherwise, what's the point?
I think when it gets complicated, like, if you look at Paul Gilbert, because Paul Gilbert's got the Fireman guitar.
Yes,
and, like,
yeah.
He's got like so many different variations of it, with like single coils or, humbucker, single coil, and then he's got like one with like mini humbuckers in it. And, I imagine like putting that signature guitar, it's kind of like which one is it going to be? Because, when I saw Paul Gilbert live last year, it was the first time I'd seen him live, and he was like unbelievably good. Like he medleyed Scarified with While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and I was like, you're just watching someone. You're like,
I would think to do that. Yeah.
How have you blended those two songs together? But I agree. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I had I recently sold a Jeff Loomis signature.
Okay.
That was a really good guitar, and I think that's pretty close to what he uses as well.
Yeah, Jeff's
first guitar ever. Well, when I say ever bought me, first good guitar my parents ever got me, was an Ibanez Iceman. I was obsessed.
I have an Iceman right over there right now, and I love it to bits.
I was obsessed with System of a Down. Absolutely.
Oh right, yeah, sure, yeah.
Darren Malakian, and I saw like Curly's had one, and I remember going home and begging me dad. I was like,
love it.
I'll do any chores, I'll do really good in school, which I was a naughty kid, but I was like, I'll behave, and like I remember, like, when I was in the institution back in the day, that was the guitar that I just fucking wrote everything on, and like I still have it, and like I could never sell it, it's shit and it's absolutely battered, but he was my first guitar hero, I think, outside of Brian May, but I think Darren was like, because I remember like in the days of tab books, people don't seem to use tab books anymore. I remember Curly Music had the tab book for the first System of a Down album,
right,
and Toxicity.
Yeah.
I remember buying both those tab books and just going home with my Iceman and my shitty Line 6 amp and just sitting there for hours and hours.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned to play metal, playing System of a Down tunes.
Yeah.
That was my what's the word, kind of catalyst into kind of a metal guitar player.
People forget how much of a surprise is probably the worst word for it, but how much of a surprise System of a Down were when they came on the scene. When Sugar came out, people were laughing at how just ridiculously different it was. I was just like, where are these rhythms coming from? How are these rhythms allowed in metal? And this is before Toxicity kind of blew up, and when you get Chop Suey and stuff kind of blowing up from that. But it was such a surprise because he's Armenian, isn't he? I believe.
Yeah, they're like Armenian American, aren't they?
Yeah, and so there was all these kind of weird, almost folkish sort of rhythms getting played with and like tunings and stuff. And then Serge is singing not about like love and cars and stuff like that. He's singing about political situations and the American judicial system, And you're like,
I was a bit young for because I can't remember what year the first album came out. I think it's like 90. I don't know what year that first System of a Down came out.
Later 90s, I think, yeah.
I think Toxicity was the first album. I remember listening to that album.
Yeah.
I reckon that was the first album I ever heard where I was like, wow, there isn't a bad song on this album.
Because Yeah.
That album's just powerful all the way through. And then I worked backwards and heard the first album. I prefer Toxicity if you were to put me on the spot, but I think the first album's got something a bit more raw to it.
Yeah.
But then
it feels more not experimental, but it feels more like they were. It was a bit wider, that one, before they kind of polarized it a little bit of what their sound was. Is you can do Sugar for me is that's my favorite song by them. And
Pluck Pluck.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
And you're like, these just don't sound like any other band.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
It was laughable. It was laughable how different they were. My introduction to the Iceman was from Jay, White Zombie. So White Zombie, Jay has that green Ibanez Iceman with the stars on it, and I was like, what the fuck is that? That doesn't look like a guitar. And he's playing like
green guitars, man.
He's playing like Flood the Kiss 65, and I'm like, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? So that's why I picked up one, and mine's quite an old one, but I only ever use it now for heavy stuff. I find it really lends itself to heavy riffing. Like it really it's like a big spanner. It's like a big wrench. It doesn't feel like a delicate instrument at all.
Mine was gigged to death as well with the Institution.
Well, let's talk about that. So you pick up the Iceman, was that your first guitar?
No, oh my god, my first ever electric guitar was a PV Raptor, and it was fucking awful.
Fuck, I don't even know that. I've got a pretty good knowledge of that.
It looks
like
if you it looks like if you got a Stratocaster and then squashed it. It looks like a deformed Stratocaster, but like, even little things like, you know, the pickups didn't sit in it properly. Like the intonation was dreadful. But basically, my best mate Jay Chow, he's an amazing photographer. He had one. So basically, I'm 10 years old, right?
Okay.
And my mum and dad had just moved to Chilwell, and there was a girl in the street, and her mum's best friend's son was Jay Chow, right? Anyway, he had a red PV Raptor, and like I'd always wanted to play guitar, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, I'm so jealous. So I got a black one. Like, so we both had these awful guitars. And, you know, I remember, I mean, you know Joe Mariangi.
Yeah.
You know, Joe's also one of my best mates when we were in school. The first inclination of the Institution that would later obviously go on to be like the band that I was in. I remember writing, the first song I ever wrote was a song called Best Served Cold. And I listened back to it, and I can still remember the riff.
Yeah.
It was just... Because obviously I was trying to write in like drop tuning, because obviously System of a Down written drop tuning, and that was like, I was probably playing more in drop tuning than I was in standard tuning, you know? Because
do you mean like drop D, or do you mean go down to C?
Drop C was what System played in, so to me that was that was God tuning.
That was the right way to tune your guitar.
But I never gigged with that guitar just because it was so, I mean, I wish I still had it. I mean, it kind of got lost. Got lost in transition somewhere. But the Iceman, that was
the next one.
Oh, that was just...
because that's like a proper guitar, right? That's like it's properly set up. It's everything good.
I always remember Curly's had an Ibanez Flying V in. That wasn't around for that long, because I think ESP sued them. But I remember Curly's had one of them, and I was like, I want that guitar. And I remember going in, and I was so tunnel vision. I was like, I want that Flying V. And then I saw the Iceman, and I was like, oh, shit. You know? So, and then obviously, that was the guitar that I really started like playing in bands with, you know? That became my main guitar for probably 10 years, you know?
I think what tends to happen with guitar players is they first find the guitar that works for them, or at least, you know, does the job for them, and then it kind of spiderwebs out. So then you kind of find the right amp that works for you, and then the pedals and stuff that work for it, and you kind of. But it always starts with the guitar. My first guitar, which is over there, was a Les Paul copy, and it was awful, and it was totally awful. Intonation, pickups, everything was shite. And it was only over like 10, 20 years of touring and teching and stuff. I went back to the guitar a couple of years ago and fixed it, everything. the intonation, the level of the frets, all the stuff I'd learned, the shielding inside the electronics and all that type of thing. And it plays like a pro guitar now. And it's just interesting that, like, you know, it's what you make of it. You know, once you find a guitar that works for you. And a piece of advice for people buying their first guitar, if I could suggest one, is don't necessarily go for something that you like the look of or someone you know plays. Play everything. Pick them off the wall. Play the thing that works for you rather than what you think it looks like.
That's definitely one thing as a teacher as well. Like, you know, the amount of students I get who turn up and they've like their parents have bought them a guitar from fucking Argos. Like if I could save one child an Argos guitar through this podcast, my life's work is done. Because any advice that I would give to parents is never go with that mentality of they might not play it in a year. Yeah. If you buy them a shit guitar, they're definitely not going to play in a year. So
a lot of our listeners here from other countries and certainly the States, Argos is essentially like a catalog sort of based thing where it kind of sells everything. And you go in and it's like Walmart or something like that, kind of like that in a Sears type of thing. So as most like of our US friends and listeners who will buy a Sears guitar and those old shitty Sears acoustics they used to sell, the plastic guitars that have suddenly become en vogue as well now.
I have a friend whose parents bought their house in a Sears catalogue.
That's what the fuck? It's like page 47 houses.
I'm not even joking. She was like, yeah, my parents picked our house out of a Sears catalogue, and I was just like,
what the fuck?
Only in America could you?
Jesus. Can people confirm that? Some of our American friends comment when I put the show out there. You can buy a house on Sears. That's fucking... It's both amazing, because it's like the height of capitalism. It's amazing, but it's also fucking awful. You should go to a guitar shop, and there are plenty of local guitar shops in dire need of your business, and go and take them off the wall. They let you take them off the wall and play these guitars. A lot of the guitars that I thought would work out for me, I've ended up maybe going slightly to the side of what I would really like. You know, I used to go like when I was a kid, used to like put a lot of very metal in inverted commas guitars. And then eventually I ended up on in the Ibanez Jackson sort of world. That's the Super Strat kind of worked for me. So when you were first like sort of plunking around on guitar and you're writing, when did it move to writing and playing with other people?
Well, I started playing guitar properly when I was 11. So like I had lessons in school. I'd wanted to play beforehand, but like it just hadn't like, you know, come to fruition. So I did classical guitar when I was about 10, 11.
Yeah.
And then basically when I was in year 7, Joe Mariangeli was in my class in school. And basically what the band that would come to be the institution started off as just 5 guys in class. So Matt Jewell, I don't know if you know Matt Jewell.
I know Matt, yeah.
So like, I mean, again, you know, one of my core best friends. I remember one day we were chilling and he had a guitar because his dad's a great guitar player, Alan. And he was playing the solo from When I Come Around by Green Day.
Yeah.
I remember being so jealous, mate. I was like, because at that point in my life, that was the fucking best thing I've ever heard.
Because it's only, if I remember rightly, that's like, it's single notes. It's basically an extension of the melody, isn't it?
But honestly, when I heard him play it, it was like magic. You know? So anyway, you know, I went home, learned it, and then basically, I'll be honest, one of the main reasons that we got a band going was actually the band Obsolete with back in the day, because Alex and Woody were in Bluecoat, the school that I was in, and they used to like play guitar during like lunch breaks and stuff. So you know, I'd be that dickhead like year 7 kid, you know, peeking my head round the door, like, oh, can I listen to what you're doing, you know? And basically, like, Alex Holborn was actually one of the first people I saw play guitar, and I thought he was fucking amazing, you know?
Of course he is.
And then, then basically from that, it became, well, let's get a band going, because we all like metal, you know? We all kind of like, I mean, Joe was destined to be a metal singer.
Wasn't he just, like, you know, wasn't he just?
And then from that point, you know, Matt's dad is a vicar, and he used to like be the vicar for a church in Halewood. So like we just used like the rectory to like rehearse, you know, this metal band playing. It was so fucking like, you know,
that's surreal that you're in a church.
Surreal, you know, we look back, but so we basically just through a love of like music, and you know, we still to this day have such a great core friendship. We just started. I think we started by playing covers, like System of a Down covers. Like we did Sugar, you know.
Yeah.
That was because you know it was like 0876, 0876.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
It was pretty straightforward, and then I'll be honest, we just got better. And I'll be honest, that like at one point, you know, I thought we were really good. You know, songwriting became much better, and then you know. It got heavier and heavier and heavier. You know, the bands we were listening to started to get heavier and heavier. And I think for me, one thing that I'll always have with me as a guitar player is the rhythm hand. You know, that's always been kind of a strong asset. And that literally is just from trying to play System of a Down songs, Slipknot songs. Because that first Slipknot album, that was my favourite album probably for the entire noughties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, now got me that album.
It was so important that album, like you, so kind of.
God,
it just kind of broke through, and no one was, you know, there was so many things that you were like, what the fuck? There was like, what? There's how many members in the band? There's what? There's a DJ. There's, you know, it's
there's also,
and it's like
on that self-titled album, there's a song called "Frail Limb Nursery" that's not on every version of the album.
It's not. Yeah.
And I remember, like, you know, when I'd walk home listening to the album, if it was like even remotely dark, I'd skip that track. I'd be like, fuck, I'm not listening to this. It's terrifying. You know,
because people forget that around that time, and the time of new metal, because it was kind of around then, when it was great and when it was good, like Korn's first album and stuff like that, when it was great, it was really, really good. Really good. People just go, new metal, it was all shit. And they just remember the shitter side of it. The kind of wannabe bands that kind of started up. But when it was good, and the whole kind of scene from that, I mean, Slipknot's first album, when that came out, it blew the doors off. People didn't know what to fucking do. They were like I say, there was loads of people in the band. They had a DJ. There was 2 guitar players. They were playing insanely detuned and down.
The production's shocking as well. Like Joey Jordison, it sounds like he's playing on a load of pots.
And that's Ross Robinson as well. Like, you know, Ross Robinson is like, you know, he's the producer du jour. You know, he did Korn as well. And, you know, a lot of people liken him to almost like a more metal Rick Rubin, you know, Ross. But I think what kind of foreshadowed Ross is he was known for putting his people through the mill, like, so he made, you know, he'd make singers scream until the vocal cords broke, and, you know, really push people to the limits and stuff. And I don't know if you necessarily totally have to do that to get those things out. But
I think on those first 2 albums, on the self-titled one and Iowa, he was really big on no guitar solos. That was like one of his main things. He was like, no solos. And to be honest, like, you know, you listen to the first album in Iowa, and like, I went for a run this morning, and I was listening to Iowa this morning, and like, I'm like air drumming as I'm running, because I'm like, just, they were such a groove-oriented band as well. And, you know, you know, like there's a certain drum beat where it's like a double snare, and every time I hear that in any other band other than Slipknot, I go, that's that Slipknot drum beat.
That's Joey's stuff.
Joey Jones.
Like whenever you hear double bass of any kind, fast played, you think of Lombardo. And you go kind of, you think like, that's probably a little bit of him there, you know, that it's I get that all the time. Joey is a sidebar. When Metallica did the download thing, and Lars Ulrich definitely didn't do too much coke and couldn't do the show, and they had all the drummers come on, and dude, when Joey was playing Metallica songs, it was like they were new. It was like Metallica remastered. And he was just fucking furious, and he was like, fucking hell. And Lombardo played there as well, like, and he was just kind of give this new sheen. But I remember when, I think Wait and Bleed was my first introduction to them, and I saw them visually before I heard them on the album. But it was like that as well, masks and boiler suits and stuff. And I was like, every facet of what they were doing, every facet visually, you know, everything was being pushed, seemed like it was being pushed. And that was what was exciting, because we were coming from a time where people were saying, well, that's it now. There's nothing good coming out of metal. You've had the 80s now. Everybody's playing. That's as good as it's going to get now. And then this band come along and stuff in the early 90s and just take the doors off where they're like, where everything was being questioned, every level.
I did read somewhere that apparently, like, for a while, Slipknot couldn't play in, like, Cleveland because Mushroom Head. Apparently there's, like, an overlap of where, you know, Mushroom Head claimed that, like, Slipknot stole some of their ideas and all that kind of shit. But I think with Slipknot, they were that band. They were so big that even Scallies knew who they were. Scallies would go to them, do you listen to Slipknot, do you? And you're like, yeah, I do actually, yeah.
Yeah. They were very quick to, I think, as another sidebar, but with Slipknot, very rarely, if you get a 4-piece, 3-piece, 5-piece band, very rarely do you get it where every single one of the musicians is really, really good. There's always someone who isn't as good. The bassist might not be that good. The singer might not be as good as the... Everybody's kind of at different levels. And it's okay. That's cool. That's what happens. But with the Knot, it seemed to be every single person was at the top of the game or at least did exactly what they needed to. All their parts were covered. If you listen to individually the parts of what's going on, everybody's fucking on. Everybody's on. It's one of those magic moments. Like Rage Against the Machine's first album, everybody's on. Yeah. Everybody's just doing exactly the right thing and it comes together. And that's how you make classic albums. That's exactly how it happens, you know?
I think that's another album for me where there's a bad track on it. Like,
it's
at all.
So good.
And
the production of it as well, I think, for the first album, it's still fucking amazing.
I don't think anything else they did was as good as that album, but I think for that album, you know, that to me is kind of like, there's certain bands that have certain albums where you just go, fuck, like Hybrid Theory is another one.
Yeah.
Like an absolute masterpiece from start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're not a Linkin Park fan, like in the end, like I know that song is kind of like the poppy song on the album.
Yeah.
That's like a fucking amazing song. You know, like, and that album still stands the test of time for me because I remember being 10 years old and me dad obviously had noticed that I was listening to rock music and stuff. So I think he'd like give me Nan a cheeky elbow and gone, yeah, buying these 2 albums and literally 2 albums me Nan bought me with Slipknot's self-titled album and Hybrid Theory. And I remember looking at them and I'd never heard either band.
Wow.
Nothing. I was completely going in like blank, you know?
Yeah.
And I put the Slipknot album on. I remember this because we had a really shit CD player. It was like, one of those like plastic ones where like the button breaks, so you have to like get a knife to open like the lid to put your CD in.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And I remember like obviously the start of the self-titled album's got that the whole thing happening, the whole thing happening, you know. I remember going like, what's me Nan bought me here? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then literally and I was just like, oh my god, you know, it was like literally Corey Taylor had walked in my room and booted me in the face.
Yeah,
that's
what he wanted. Yeah.
And I remember listening to the album. I can vividly remember. I can remember the emotion of kind of like, I love this, but it makes me feel a little uneasy. It was like so like different from everything I'd ever heard. Because you know, Maiden, amazing band, love them to bits, but there's nothing particularly dark about them, even when they do darker themed music. It's still got that sprinkle of Maidenism on it. Kind of like, you know,
well, Slipknot felt dangerous.
Oh, it felt dangerous. Shit out of me.
Yeah, like we should be listening to it. Yeah, and that's what you look for. You look for the edges of the map musically. I certainly do, and I find that the most exciting stuff is often there. So for me, I got to see the Institution live on a number of occasions because I have a crazy memory. But I would say at one point they were one of the best metal bands in Liverpool. You know, I mean, that's the truth. And I think a lot of people would also agree with that.
I think we were, you know, in the right place at the right time, and I think if circumstances were different, you know, I think we could have gone on to, you know, be bigger and tour, you know, that kind of thing. But I just think at the time we were doing something a little different. You know, we were by far the heaviest band on the scene at the time. Yeah. You know, because like, you know, bands like Surprise Connection, who like, you know, amazing band, but they were nowhere near as like heavy as we were. And I think the main thing was that you always knew there was going to be some kind of fucking madness. You know what I mean? Because live,
for me, I always remember that. What was it? What's one of the songs called? Slaying the Manticore.
Slaying the Manticore, yeah.
I think that was my favourite song. Like, there you go. But I always remember two things. I remember it being really heavy. I remember watching you playing it on a bill with a couple of other bands and being noticeably heavy. And I was like, whoa, this is fucking heavier than everything that else anybody's doing. And Joe just being, having what a voice, you know. And I've got to get Joe on the show, ladies and gentlemen, because he's super nice in between songs. But when he's on, he's the fucking end of the world. He's fantastic.
We did a gig in the bar. Like, so basically, when we were gigging, the one thing when you came to like an institution gig was you knew there were going to be pits and you knew that there'd be fucking carnage on stage. So Joe's thing was like, he used to come up to you and he used to wrap the mic cord around your neck.
He did it to me on a number of occasions. Yeah.
And there was one gig in the Barfly, right, where I was in a fucking foul mood. Like, just, I don't know, I think I had an argument with me dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, and Joe's like got this mic wrapped around my neck. And to be fair, I was at the point where I was like, I cannot fucking breathe. And I think I just put my guitar down and walked off. Went outside the Barfly. I had a ciggy because, you know, I was like fucking 16 and all smoking was cool. Went back inside, got back on stage just as if nothing had happened. And I remember getting off stage and Joe just ripping me a fucking new one. Just like, you know, it's part of the gig. And he was right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I think...
fucking hell, you're only 16, no shit. Come on.
Do you know what, though? We took it super seriously. I mean, I say that. We took the music seriously.
Yes.
We were definitely like... I remember we got... I don't know if I can even like share the story really, but we were in the... Do you remember the Powerhouse gigs?
Yeah.
Like the Holborn put on, they were amazing, man. I remember we thought it would be a good idea to take a piss in the kettle and boil it. And it was the... looking back, it was such a bad idea because the entire top floor of the Barfly just stank like piss. And like... That was basically like the kind of band we were. When we were on stage, we were super serious and we took the writing seriously, and, you know, we made sure every gig was fucking 100%. Off stage, and, you know, in school, for example, me and Joe weren't allowed to be in the same class.
It's troublemakers, man. Yeah.
But
Joe's whole thing was that he was going to be undeniable, and I'll definitely get him on the show. I've talked to him as well. He's since become like an opener of bars and stuff. He's doing fucking amazing stuff. I don't know who'd have thought that, but I definitely get him on the show. But he was undeniable. If you might not like the band, you might not be into it, but you were going to watch them for the period of that set. You were going to watch Joe. Joe was going to, if you weren't looking at him or at the band or watching what was going on, Joe would get your attention. Whatever that fucking took, he would get that attention. I used to love that. I used to think it was the best thing. Great frontman.
I always remember on our album launch, we 2008, I think it was, and like, you know, the queue was like fucking all the way down Seal Street. It was like honestly one of the best feelings, you know, humbling feeling. But I always remember at the end of so basically Joe stage dived into the crowd. Actually, no, was it the Barfly? No, it might have been the Zanzibar, actually.
Okay.
At a different gig. But either way, you know, rest in peace, Tony, as well. Man, what a legend. But
most definitely.
I remember we'd fucking sold the Barfly out, Zanzibar out to the point where like they wouldn't let anyone else in, right?
Yeah.
And I always remember, I can't remember what song it was, but there was this girl, like she was tiny, right at the front. Must have been about 15. No, she was probably younger, maybe like 14, 15.
Yeah.
And we were about 17 at the time. And I always remember Joe stage diving and just planting his knee straight in her face,
taking her out.
And you know where you're kind of like rocking out, but you're looking and you're kind of like,
shit, what's happening?
And I remember at the gig, she came up at the end of the gig, and her face was just, her nose had gone basically.
Oh shit!
And so she was like, yeah, I got kneed in the face by Joe from the institution.
Fucking hell.
And we just stood there just like, this is like mental. You know, they were good times.
Did you get moments when you were playing live where you were like, I remember not being able to play the guitar, learning, seeing my heroes, and now I'm on stage doing that thing. Did you make that connection between playing and you go, actually, I can do this now?
You know, I think with the institution, like, because I was in a band with, like, it wasn't a band of, like, randomers. It was, like, my 4 best mates. You know what I mean? So, and I think you know, ego definitely kicks in. You can't be in a metal band and not have an ego.
It's got to be an element of that. Yeah.
You don't get me wrong, as long as you don't walk around in, like, everyday life like that.
Yeah.
There was a certain aspect when we were on stage of, like, you know, we'd want to outdo each other in terms of, like, who could fucking rock out the most. And, then, you know, I think on the album, when we did the album launch and, like, you know, sold the Barfly, I do remember stood there thinking, like, this is crazy that we've managed to make this journey. And, you know, when people sing your songs, that's, like, an amazing feeling. You know, we used to have a song called For the Faith. And there used to be this bit where, like, it'd, like, be like a breakdown. It was kind of like a pre-deathcore kind of breakdown. And there'd be this bit where it'd stop and Joe would go, fucking judge me. And, like, I remember at the Barfly, the whole crowd did it. And I was, like, my hair's standing on end now just talking about it. I just remember thinking, like, fuck, you know, it was a good time. And, then, you know, we were super lucky, man. We were, at one point, I'd say the best band in the scene, but also we got to play with so many good bands. Zabrowski Connection, Hollow Point, my mind's gone fucking blank now. They're like the 2 that stand out for me, you know. I mean, what became Rain May Fall, I thought they were a great band as well.
I saw you a couple of times with Metro as well. Metro Manila as well,
Do you know, here's a great story. So, Paul McBride or Saul Godson,
whatever he wants to call it.
You know, the legend that is. I mean, by the way, little side note, he is the fastest walker you will ever like, trying to keep up with him when he's walking through town is like...
I'll walk.
It's unbelievable. But I remember he was in Blue Coat. And we were in year 7. And, dude, I think he got expelled for doing this, like, amazing prank. And basically, him and a few friends, like, broke the fire alarm. So we all go out onto the yard. And I don't know how they done this, but they had, like, they basically on the side of the gym, they basically had a wall-length kind of, like, poster, basically, of the head boy bumming the assistant head. And so basically when all the kids are on the yard, they basically let this, like, massive poster just slide down the wall.
Wow. And
I remember, and then we just started egging everybody because they were hiding in the graveyard next to the playground.
Jesus. That'll get you expelled, but
that was my first introduction to Paul. But Metro were unbelievably good. Yes. So different as well. You know, like, I don't even know, how do you even describe what they are?
Well, you know, Saul's been on the show. You know, he's a good friend. I said to him, I don't know if you realise how ahead of your time you were when you were on the scene. You massively ahead of the time.
I think they were a mix of massively ahead of the time and massively in the past. Because they had so many prog elements in there.
Like,
and then just kind of... Do you know what's weird? They basically sounded to me if Rush were, like, heavier and weirder.
And maybe. It always seemed to me like there was a Beatles thing there as well, mixed with the psychedelia type of stuff, but then with this weird sort of, progressive rock's probably a good shout. Yeah, that's probably amazing. But it was people like them and Brassneck as well, who played a couple of shows as well. You know, you just think there was this great scene. So I suppose the obvious question is, what happened then with the institution then? Because you're selling out the Barfly and stuff, things seem to work. What kind of happened?
Well, you know, once we done the album launch, you know, once we got to, like, 18, it kind of, like, became like, well, you know, it was getting very expensive because, you know, things like booking agents and all this kind of thing. And I think all of us, you know, most of us wanted to go to uni and, like, actually, I think it was kind of important for us to kind of make sure we had a kind of plan B, which in a way I think dilutes plan A, you know?
You can't necessarily have both,
But it also got to the point where I just think it had run its course, you know?
It seemed like to organically finish. It didn't seem like it was. There was a falling out. It was just like, okay, it seems right that that's kind of where it ends there. It seems fairly organic.
Because, you know, like, I think, you know, I think we'd done everything that we were going to do, you know, and I think, I mean, don't get me wrong, when the band broke up, I remember being so depressed for for ages, you know, because obviously, you know, it'd been like a massive part of my life for like, it's fucking hell, like 8 years, right? I don't know how long it was, but, you know, I look back now and I think it was all growth, you know. Joe went on to, obviously, now he's singing in Oceanus.
Yeah.
I've gone down a completely different road, but it's, I think the scene died as well, though.
I think so. I think that's a valid thing. Yeah, I think it kind of started to move on to something else, whatever that may be.
It was also, you know, towards the latter end, I remember a lot of people became, in inverted commas, promoters.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of gigs put on where no one was turning up, and I feel like it kind of killed the scene a bit. And then obviously, you know, I think with like the kind of rise of deathcore, I think, because, you know, in my opinion, I think that early 2000s was the golden age of like metal. You know what I mean? It was like that new wave of American heavy metal. You know, you just had so many good bands: Killswitch Engage, Lamb of God, As I Lay Dying, Unearth, God forbid. I mean, you could literally Arch Enemy, In Flames. You could reel.
This comes up a lot on some of the shows that people talk about, kind of like, you know, the start of metal with Sabbath and stuff like that, when it became heavier with thrash and the start of Judas Priest kind of beginnings with that, then Slayer, and then moving through the new wave of British heavy metal, and then into the big four. And then as we move, people forget that there was also another wave as well of that came birthed from Pantera and stuff like that, and kind of born from that. You get to sort of like your Lamb of Gods and that type of thing, and that whole thing. And there was a wonderful second sort of period as well, almost a second wave of heavy metal, if you will, but this time from an American side, like, you know.
Well, I think, you know, for me, in my little tiny fucking room in Tocky, I think that to me was the last kind of era where it felt like there was a subculture, you know.
Okay.
I think I look at metal now. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, there's definitely going to be a metal scene, but I feel like, you know, all I ever wanted to do was go to gigs. I mean, me and Joe and Jay used to go to like Manchester when we were like fucking 15 on our own.
Yeah.
You know, to see any band that we could. It was like, you know, I remember you would walk through town, and do you remember under the Radio City tower, there used to be the box office?
Yeah.
And it would tell you what bands are on. I remember walking, and you'd look and you'd be like, "Where's the metal one? Where's the metal one?" Bang, and you'd be like, "All right, we'll go." And I just think now, you know, I don't know if kids want to go to gigs as much, because, you know, I mean, you know, people say like, you know, you can watch like gigs on YouTube, and I'm like, that's not the same. You know, I want to stand there in the sound check when they're doing the kick drum test and feel my chest feel like it's going to burst open.
Yeah.
You know? But,
listen, you know, let's put it out there. Just so you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, Dan, but on the internet, there are several sites where you can see pornographic acts. Apparently, they're out there. You can log on and you can see pornographic acts. I'm pretty sure that the actual thing of itself is better in person. I'm pretty sure the act of sex is better in person, you know.
I mean, I've forgotten what that's like, to be fair.
But the thing is I think it's born from a knowledge base. So you went to see shows, you were either took by your parents or your friends or whatever, and you remember that. You remember being in a pit, you remember holding onto the rails, you remember all that stuff, and the house lights going down and all that craziness, and you remember that. And that's part of how you had ingested music. Now we've got people who grew up in an era where that didn't happen. So they never went to a show. No one dragged them to a show, as shit as it may be. So now we've got to convince the next sort of group of people that this is the things that you got. We have to almost drag them by the hand to a show and go, this is the things that you you can't get on the internet. You can see a video of, but you can't get. You have to be in real life.
I just think, right, you know, what is a better feeling than seeing a band you like live? Because I can remember, right? I remember one of the, I'll never forget this. One of my dad took me and Joe and my other mate Si to see the Chili Peppers, right? This must have been 2002.
Okay.
So the Chili Peppers supported by James Brown.
Right? I saw that. I was at that show. Yeah, James Brown. Support. So James Brown, James Brown, the godfather of soul, not the second cousin of soul or the milkman of soul. The godfather of soul is supporting the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Wait, there wasn't a band as well that was supporting them. And he got fucking mauled, didn't he? To the point where I think either Anthony or Flea had to say during their set.
I think it was John Frusciante. I think John Frusciante.
Oh, right, so John Frusciante, like, okay, yeah.
I think he was like, you know, this isn't cool. Like, you know, you need to kind of respect artists. But I remember, me and Joe must have only been about 14. And I think Joe always loved the Pit. Joe was like a Pit hound, you know?
Yeah.
I remember... That was the biggest crowd I'd been in at that point.
Yeah, because it was in Main Road, wasn't it? It was yeah, which is a football stadium for those unaware.
It was mental, you know. And I remember that was the first time I ever crowd surfed. Right.
What? Okay.
And I remember, but I mean, the main reason being, I'm not the tallest person, so I remember just being like, oh my god, like I can't see shit, and I'm roasting hot, you know. So I remember the guy next to me.
Get up and out.
Can you just like launch me up there? And I remember this guy just picked me up and fucking
launched you, like, yeeted you, as the kids say.
And anyway, and I remember like just thinking, this is the best feeling ever. And I remember, you know, when like the security guard rags you down from the car. Yeah. I remember him looking at me going, how old are you? I was like, you know, but then the funniest thing was, I mean, to be fair, looking back, my dad probably should have been like, listen, you're too young to kind of go in that pit, you know, on your own. Yeah, but like, you know, two 14-year-old lads, we just were just like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like,
we're doing what we're doing.
But I remember Joe lost his shoe. And I always remember him walking back to the car, like limping. Because like the car park was like gravel, you know. He lost his shoe.
Amazing, and that's well. See those stories now. At the time, I'm sure Joe was like, "Fuck," you know. But I'm sure that now it's a fond memory, and sometimes
we have so many good memories.
You know, I think we have to remind this generation that maybe aren't aware that the live music thing is. It's a whole experience. It's the going there. It's the hours before. It's before the band comes on. It's not just a whole watching of the band. It's afterwards. It's all that kind of thing. You don't get that with a live stream of a band's hour show. It's desanitized the whole experience. It's removed all the personality from it.
I think as well, you know, the misconception, I think, because I remember a lot of bars started to like, you know, no pits and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I always remember going like, you know, any time I fell over in a pit, I was yanked up within like a second. Like people don't realize, well, especially with metal, you know. I think people see the mosh pits and they see the kind of like, because if you watch a band like Lamb of God, occasionally you're just gonna randomly fucking scream because you're just gonna be like, oh, you know. It's metal to me is. It's about aggression and it's about kind of a vent for yourself to kind of just, you know, you pour your emotions out in those kind of like songs. And I think, I'm massively biased in saying this because I've been a metalhead so long. I think I've never seen a community like the metal community in other genres of music because, you know, it's that kind of, it's not the norm, is it? Every metalhead at some point had that one person go, oh, it's just noise.
Yeah. It comes up, whenever I appear on other shows that are not metal-centric, I'm always kind of, there's always a kind, like I was on the Getting to This live stream, and there was a lot of things that I felt I needed to say, listen, it's the pit's not a negative place, and when we're screaming, it's cathartic. It's not negative. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a power thing. It's powerful emitting of energy, and what a great fundamental concept to have in the pit as in life is if someone falls down, you pick them up.
I've never had any issue in the pit.
Never. I've clocked a couple of hands and a couple of elbows and stuff like that, and that's fine.
I got knocked clean out in a but that's why you know when pitting started to become like this, like swinging your legs around and all that shit.
Yeah.
I remember catching a fucking foot right in my nose and just being like, "Dumph, gone." But I think being what's really interesting now, being in a country band, which is like other side of like the realm.
Yeah.
I think people who don't know me as someone who was in a metal band or listens to metal, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think if you look at me and I've got like longish hair and I have like a nose piercing and things and tattoos, but, I've always been quite a good singer, not metal singer, kind of what most people would consider singing. And it's always funny when I listen to metal and the 99.9%, the one thing that they always say is, but you can't understand what he's saying. And I always come back with the same answer. It's like, it's not important.
Yeah.
It's in metal. Don't get me wrong. You definitely, and you'll know this as well, you develop an ear to understand what they're saying. It just gets better over time. But it's like with Cannibal Corpse, right? You don't go to a fucking Cannibal Corpse gig to listen to what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
It's the vocal delivery. It's the aggression that you listen for. And I think, if you're not into metal, I guess that's kind of a hard thing to understand because
it seems inaccessible at first.
There's no narrative, particularly given to you on a plate.
Yeah.
It's just a guy screaming.
It's in many ways, and I'm just about to compare Cannibal Corpse with Miles Davis, but I'm going to. Every couple of months, I will listen to Bitches Brew by Miles Davis. And the reason I do so is to realise that I know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that is a piece of a masterpiece of work. I know it is. All the musical scholars all over, in the same way that Beethoven's Fifth is, or any of the Paganini's Caprices are. I know that they're works of art and they're genius. I don't understand it. It's a bit musically dense for me to get into, but I've got a pretty good idea that it's pretty good. I don't know why, and I'm learning slowly why it's a good thing, but I'm still learning. When I first heard Cannibal Corpse, it sounded like noise until I kind of unraveled it and figured out kind of what was going on. And what was going on, and I did a podcast yesterday with a gentleman called Callum Smith. He's the lead singer of a band called In Depths, and they're very Slipknot, very extreme, very aggressive. And one of the things that I put to him was the aggressive sounding parts of a vocalization made within a metal song are the same as in a doo-wop song or something like that. And the example I give, or not necessarily a doo-wop song, but the example I give was I Feel Free by The Cream. And the reason I selected the song is the main melody of that is them singing. I think it's Jack Bruce is singing bum 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 bum. So he's not singing words. He's not singing words there. He's singing the melody. He's a cappella-y sort of singing along. Dum 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 da dum dum. All extreme vocalizations are doing is taking that and distorting that. It's the vocalization is just a part of that. It's an effect. It's a technique. Sometimes in a song, sometimes you want to know what the person's singing exactly about. But how many times has people heard Hendrix and misquoted a Hendrix song? It doesn't. It's only when you go back and you can unpack it that you'll get into it. But for the purposes of that performance, it's a technique to get the idea and the power and the energy of the song over.
Well, I think as well, there's in the age of kind of, where popular music has gone, there is a need for a narrative now. So like, you need to be spoon fed what the song is about, basically. And I think, it's probably one of the many reasons why classical music's kind of, in the doldrums of musical society now, because there's no words. And I think I always, especially with younger students, I try and put them onto like instrumental music. Because say, for example, I was in a Genesis tribute band for years, right? And I think if you were to take your average person and go, yeah, listen to Supper's Ready, a song that's 23 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
And it's got words in it at various bits, but there's massive sections where it's just music, right?
Yeah.
And you can tell that their attention span just switches off. As soon as the words go, it's
yeah.
And I think, I mean, that's very generalized, you know.
I think it's a pretty good. No, I think it's a pretty good approximation of what's happening. I think that's born, I believe, from the internet and technology, where now someone's going to listen to a video for maybe a mere second. I sort of thing, yeah. Which was now, I think it's on YouTube, but it might be on Facebook or whatever it may be, where when an article comes up, so it says this article is about whatever, crop rotation or whatever it may be, and it tells you how many minutes it is to read that article. It takes 7 minutes to read this article. Who the fuck has got, sitting there going, I'll have to make sure that 7 minutes of my time is... No, our attention spans have been reduced because of this, because... You only listen to a song if the riff doesn't immediately grab you. It's like skip to the next song on Spotify. It's like our attention spans have been absolutely destroyed. But I think there's hope. So
it's interesting you say that. Just quickly, I have made a point recently in this kind of lockdown. So I live right by Sefton Park. So now every day or every other day, I'll walk around the park, and literally now I use it as a chance to listen to an album in full. And I'm being strict with myself and I can't skip songs. Yeah. So if there's a song I'm not really into, I have to just fucking grin and bear it. Cause you owe it to the album, you know?
Yeah, it's to the artist. Yeah. And I think
listen to it, you know?
Yeah, it's that kind of like, that's what's kind of sort of damaged us a little bit. But I think there's a solution, or I think there's something we can move with this. So for example, the average podcast now, my average podcasts are about an hour to 2 hours long. Joe Rogan's goes like 3 hours long. Kevin Smith's 2.5 hours long. And people are still listening because they realise that there is weight in having these long discussions about things. There's weight. But the reason I say that there might be a workaround or a solution to this is back in the 60s, when the sort of 3-4 minute pop song was coming up and being put out there was moments in all of those songs where there was experimentation and interesting stuff going on. Take something like, Jimi Hendrix, and he's releasing a song, or the Beatles are releasing a song. And although, take like Day Tripper, it's like 2.5 minutes long. But what they're kind of doing as well is that they'll backdoor interesting ideas within there as well. I think that there's room for that 4-minute pop song, as long as we make sure that within that, we are still pushing the realms. What's been happening is the realm of the pop song is being used as a safe space now, where it's like, okay, well, it's verse, chorus, whatever. We should go back to the days of when you would release a song and it was challenging, even though it was in that format. We can still do that. We've just got to I suppose the interesting example here is Bohemian Rhapsody, which is like, a really long, complicated, challenging song. But it had to be kind of, Kenny Everett had to kind of constantly play it. And you had to constantly listen to it to break open its doors to now become a classic that it is. It's worth the effort. It's worth the time to see those seeds bloom. And Bohemian Rhapsody is probably the best example of that. When you first hear Bohemian Rhapsody, it seems like utter madness. Now, every part seems to make sense. Why wouldn't that be an a cappella part? Why wouldn't that be? The work, when you put in to music and listen to an album, listen to an artist, it will bear fruit. And sometimes you might not get it on the first pass. And for the most part, most great music, you don't get it on the first pass before it starts to bloom.
I think as well, I think the main issue with kind of, I'd say, popular music now is, it's throwaway. It's created to last a certain amount of time to the next thing. So there's no kind of there's no depth to it,
Yeah.
And I think, at the risk of sounding like elitist, I think, I think it's better to listen to stuff that's going to challenge you. And I think to make you think, because, I'm reading a book at the minute called Fahrenheit 451.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if you've read the book.
Yes,
Great.
yeah. It's superb, yeah.
You know, and there's so many things. I mean, the book's written in like the 50s, you know.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like, you know, dystopian,
Is it
post-apocalyptic
Ray
kind of thing.
Bradbury? Is it Ray Bradbury?
Bradbury, yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, like, I read it on a whim because like I've always been like a massive reader, and kind of, you know, I just so many people are like, yeah, I'll just give this book a read. So I was like, you know, fuck it, well, and like honestly, you read it, and like there's so many parallels to like now, like this whole thing of, you know, the dumbing down of it. And I say this all the time, and you know, sometimes I feel like I'm that crazy person who's entering his 30s, who's just having a thirdly life crisis, you know. But it's true, like, you know, I look at like TV, like, oh my god, the amount of like my sister, for example, right, love her to bits, was super close. She's my best mate. However, she would never, ever, ever watch television with me because she like would watch like Love Island or, you know, like Made in Chelsea. And I'm sat there and I'm watching it and I'm going, how the fuck do you watch this? This is like, this is television for people who don't want to think. And you know, you should never tell people what they should and shouldn't like, but I kind of think it does worry me that like there seems to be such a lot of people, like the masses, who kind of, you know, just like eat this stuff up. And like I think, you know, as a society, we, you know, look at technology is moving insanely. However, I think on a societal and a social level, I think we're kind of like downgrading, even though we have like Facebook and, you know, there's a guy, I saw a video, called Simon something, right? No, Simon says though that he talks about how people don't build proper relationships anymore.
True.
Because you know, be like, you basically clarify and surmise whether you like someone based on a photo, and you make a decision whether you want to engage with them by swiping right or left. You've removed everything from like the kind of, I mean, or the awkwardness of like, hi, you know, like that awkward first conversation where you just chat shit. But that's how proper relationships are built. And I think the same thing applies to music. Like, you've got to engage with it and give it time and let... Because, you know, I don't know who your favourite band is. My favourite band, if I were to say in metal, would be Slipknot. And it was purely because I sat there for hours and hours listening to it over and over and over and over again. To the point now where, like, you know, I listen to like Iowa and I feel emotional.
Well, it's what you're talking about there is that when people often talk about when you're in your formative years of listening to music, and you'll kind of have a particular album that you'll kind of put on heavy rotation because it's the only album you had. You only had like one album, so that's all you listen to, and it becomes these formative years of kind of building musically what you like. And as time goes by, apparently, so science says, you sort of lose that apparently, and it becomes harder and harder for some music to kind of infiltrate your kind of wall, if you will, of what you listen to. It's interesting that you talk about Fahrenheit 451. So to give a quick skinny to people who haven't read it or aren't aware of it, essentially it's about a guy who plays a fireman, if you will, and one of the things they do is they ban all books. Books are no longer allowed, and what he finds like a commune, if you will, of people who have memorized books, so Moby Dick or whatever the fuck it is, classic works of fiction or whatever. And these people will recant these things, will talk these books and kind of, and they're referred to by their whatever book they are. So it's like, oh, that guy over there, he's Moby Dick. That guy over there is Robinson Crusoe. You know, and they're referred to in that sense. And what's interesting is that, and I talk about this a lot, that if we don't kind of look after the scene and look after music, it will be taken away from us, and it will be kind of reduced to industries churning out music, what they decide we should like, rather than people going, this is what I think we should like. And that's kind of happening.
People, you know, like say, for example, you know, amongst the kids that I teach, like the teenagers, they're always amazed if I don't like Ed Sheeran.
Right.
Like they can't fathom that like it's
Yeah.
possible to not like
Yeah.
something, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you know, I think
So let's just scroll back there a sec to you when did you decide then to teach guitar? When does that move happen?
well, I mean, I've been teaching kind of like periodically from when I was like 18. You know what I mean? Just kind of odd lesson there,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. Basically, when I left uni, I worked in the Home Office for 2 years because my mum worked there. Worst 2 years of my life. Soul destroying job, you know. The kind of I worked in the immigration department and, you know, casework and all that kind of thing. So you have to do X number of cases a day, and then, you know, literally all these people who like have these horrendous lives going on just become like numbers, you know.
Yeah.
Long story short, I started gigging a lot, like on Matthew Street and that kind of thing. You know, really starting to gig like 3-4 times a week for fucking hours, you know.
Yeah.
And basically I just couldn't get into work on time, so I got fired.
Okay.
And around, literally, I think like the day after I got fired, Chris Everett sent me like a good friend, you know, Chris. He sent me a thing saying, "All right, dude, I've just seen this advertised in the post here, in like the paper, and it was an advert for the shop that's still working now, that they were looking for a guitar teacher." And I had this moment where I was like, because the place where I worked, like the ironic thing was they were offering me like another job immediately, you know, just in a different department. And I had this moment where I was like, do you know what, fuck this. Like, I'm be arsed doing this job that's like, I think shit. Yeah, I'm not going to waste my life doing something I don't like.
Yeah.
So basically, I just took a risk, started teaching at the shop kind of full time, and, you know, it was very, very slow at the start. And then just over the course of the last 5 years, it's grew, and it's pretty much what I do like all the time. Not that, well, I was gigging until this, you know. But,
I think that's a nice story, though, that you say, you know, you took a chance. You know, I mean, was the party that thought, I'm not qualified to teach guitar? Did you think to yourself, or did you think, I've got enough in my bag now, I think that I can?
You know, I like I said before, you know, I know guitar players who I have said, you know, start teaching, you know, like, we have mutual friends who I could say the same thing about, you know. And there is a moment where you go, you overthink everything, you know what I mean? You kind of think, oh, what if I get someone like Jack Gardner coming in, you know?
You can hear me. Give me a second. Hold on a sec. It keeps cutting in and out. Sorry. I lost you for about a minute there.
Can you hear me now, yeah?
Yeah, good. Yeah, all good.
So basically, like, you know, I had, what was the last thing you heard?
We were just talking about being qualified to be a guitar player, and you thought that you maybe had some stuff, you know, you could do.
So basically, like, I have this conversation now, looking back with like people who we both know. You know, I'm going to name people, amazing musicians who are apprehensive to kind of, you know, take that kind of lunge into self-employment and stuff. Yeah. But I you know, I used to think like, shit, what if a Jack Gardner walks in? Well, what the fuck am I going to teach him, you know?
Yeah.
And you kind of go over these things, but then, you know, I was at the point where I've never been good at doing stuff I don't like, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So with the Home Office and stuff, if my heart's not in it, I'm not going to get, I'm not even going to give like 50%, you know?
Yeah.
So it was one of those, I just took a risk, and the first few lessons, you know, I was nervous and stuff, but you kind of just realise that like the majority of the people who want lessons are shit. Yeah. And the reason they're there is they want you to make them better.
Yeah, it's the whole point. Yeah,
and yeah, I say shit, but I don't mean that in a mean way. You know.
They're not good at what they do, so they've looked for a teacher. That's what it comes down. I always remember when we talk to guitar teachers, I'm always reminded of the thing of Randy Rhoads being off tour and booking in to go and see guitar teachers, and I just think to myself, fucking hell. You know what I mean? This is Randy Rhoads, and he walks in, and you're like, what the fuck are we going to teach him? But he was willing to learn a different thing each time.
I firmly believe, like, you know, I look at my playing now, and I still have, in my opinion, such a long way to go. There's so much that I want to unlock, you know. But I look back over, you know, I think, you know, I had lessons with Neil Mellor. I've had lessons with Jack Gardner, Rick Graham. You know, all of them like provided me with something that, you know, I've moved forward on and kind of built upon. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like Neil always is say that, like, you know, that you're never gonna, you don't finish guitar playing. It's not like, right, I know everything now about guitar playing. That's it. Now I'm a guitar player. Here's your badge. Off you go. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. It's a constantly evolving. That's what makes it so brilliant.
And I think
it's a constantly evolving thing.
I think the most important thing as well is, you know, I've had students, for example, right, who have lessons with me, and then they go to me, they go, do you mind if I had a lesson with someone else? It's like, no, God, no.
In fact, you should do. You should do. Yeah.
But there are people out there who, you know, I've had it in the past where I've had teachers, and then when I've gone to someone else, they've been off with me, you know, like the ego kind of comes in. But I'm like a firm believer of like, open as many doors as you can.
Yeah.
The more knowledge it's like with music, you know, I couldn't just listen to metal, you know what I mean? Like, I need, you know, I'm a massive fan of country music. I mean, I probably play more acoustic guitar now than electric at the minute. You know, so I'm massively into, like, you know, John Mayer, massively into John Mayer. Love John Mayer's playing. Yeah. But also like classical music, you know, I also kind of like really fucking weird music.
Well, the misconception, especially amongst some guitar players, is that if you listen to anything other than your chosen genre, which is ridiculous when you think about it, but if you don't listen to anything other than your chosen genre, that means you're almost pure, if you will. Like, whereas listening to something else somehow dilutes what you're doing. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. In fact, as a guitar player, I often learn something that wasn't either designed for guitar or something that is not really something I would normally play. And you find that what quite often happens is it informs your actual playing. So if you think about country is a brilliant example. Country and metal aren't that far away. They're not that far away. So you think about Dimebag Darrell, some of the stuff he was doing, bending-wise, definitely alludes to country. Zakk Wylde, 100% alludes to country. Some of the best players, guitar players I've seen, are country players. There's some fucking unbelievable players out there, country players. Think about John Five. John Five is, you know, metal guitarist de jour. Fucking huge hee-haw player. Yeah, he plays a Telecaster. So, you know, you think that the metal world isn't closed. Bring in these influences and let's kind of, you know, work with that. So when do you think someone should start getting a teacher? When do you think? So I just picked up my guitar. When should I start getting a teacher before I even pick it up, or where?
I would say there's a balance. I would honestly say get lessons as soon as you can.
Right.
I think. Here's the thing, though, right? I think anyone who's going to become a good guitar player will do it on their own as well. Yeah. I think that there's I look at all the guitar players, you know, they've had lessons kind of dotted here or thereabouts. Yeah. The majority of it's been their own drive. And I don't think having a guitar teacher will make you a better guitar player, because your teacher could be shit, you know? Right. But I think it's a balance. I think you should have a teacher if there's something you really want. I think in the beginning, for kids especially, I think teachers are massive, you know? Yeah. I mean, obviously, if I ever have children myself, I'll just teach them myself. But I do think at a young age, like, you know, I teach some kids who, like, yeah, I've got one girl who I teach. I've been teaching her since she was 5, and she's 10 now. She's brilliant. Like, absolutely brilliant. But yeah. I think if she wants to then become even better, I think when you get a little bit older, when you get into like your teenage years, you have to have that drive inside you to want to do it. Yeah, you know, it's not a case of you book go see a guitar teacher and you suddenly that's it, you're going to be great. It doesn't work like that. I think for me, my favourite teachers, I've had quite a few guitar teachers in many different styles as well. The best ones were merely gatekeepers or signposts to stuff. I was like, why does this work? And they're like, oh, okay, that's the you know, Eddie Van Halen uses the Dorian mode. Here's what a Dorian mode looks like. Okay, I get it now. I understand.
this is how this relates to this, and this is how this relates to that, and they become kind of signposts and move you along your own journey. Is the best teachers I've had? They're the ones I found kind of work. And the truth of the matter is that all the work is still with the player themselves. You've got to take these things these people tell you and really enforce them. You can't just go and only play when you're at the lesson. You've got to put, as guitar players call it, you've got to put the time in the woodshed. You've got to really kind of put that time in.
I think the two teachers for me who kind of, Jack definitely,
yeah.
There was never a time where I left Jack's where I didn't feel like inspired to pick up the guitar and
great player, great player.
And then probably like the main one was Rick Graham.
Rick Graham's kind of for those that don't know these names that were thrown out here. These are people you definitely want to check out. They are probably the best players, certainly in the country, maybe the world and stuff.
Oh, Rick's the best guitar player I've ever seen.
Phenomenal. The amazing thing about Rick is that he is fabulous and technically gifted beyond reproach. That is inarguable. But he's got a wonderful demeanour about how he presents the things that he's doing. But he also understands, he's a really great songwriter as well. He's very much a complete guitar player. They all have websites and they all have things that you can sign up to as well, which I suggest you do. And that raises an interesting question there as well, is where do we stand then when there's a wealth of information out there on YouTube and on the internet about how to play the guitar? How do you kind of draw up a plan for yourself with the stuff that's on the internet? Is there's good and bad on there? Obviously,
this is a good question. I think it also ties into what's the best way to practice. That's a hard question because there's so many techniques, for example, one thing that I've started doing more of is actually making a lesson plan, like a practice diary almost kind of thing.
Yeah.
And every guitar player on earth is guilty of, right, I'm going to sit down and practice this, and then fucking 10 minutes go by and you're playing blues licks before you know it.
Yeah.
You're in Noodlesville. But I think, like you said, if you go on YouTube, there's so much information.
Yes.
Guitar-wise, I personally, I think, if you're a rock guitar player, you've got all those Paul Gilbert DVDs that have been ripped to YouTube. You've got all those guitar licks in REH.
The Starlicks ones and stuff, yeah.
They're all on there. And let's be honest, that's the stuff you want to be good. If you're a rock player and you want to get better, for example, I'd highly doubt you're going to find anything better than Paul Gilbert's Hot Licks videos.
Yeah, all that old Wolf Marshall stuff. You remember him?
Yeah. But I think in terms of theory, because I think this isn't, because that to me is a completely separate thing. Theory and technique are two arms of the same kind of musical body. People there's a channel, Jens Larsen. He's a jazz kind of guy. His videos are fucking brilliant and really easy to digest. I think the one thing that you got to realize is, every guitar player is kind of looking for their own thing, aren't they? If you are a guitar player who just wants to learn songs, simple chords, you've got your Marty, whatever his name is, Marty Schwartz, you've got your Justin guitar, they're going to be sound, I think the one thing I think you do have to be careful of is there's a lot of people who aren't very good on YouTube.
Well, this is probably another one for another show at some point, but this kind of leads into what I'm talking about Craig, the fake guitar stuff, is that you can see someone going, learn to play like me, blah, 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 but what they've done is they've actually constructed that video and it's fake.
I think with that whole thing, I remember Craig talking about a video that he watched and thought it was amazing, and then was later found out as fake. That video he's talking about is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It sounds shit. It doesn't sound real, Yeah. I think, Jack made a very good point. Jack said something if you are editing this in a musical context as a compositional tool, sound fine, That you can't argue with that, but like there's people like I can't remember the guy's name, Manuel Gardner Fernandez, I think his name is.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I'll be honest, like you know he refuted a lot of the things that like were thrown against him. But you watch his playing in like recent videos, it's not the same. It's not as fast. It's not as clean. And I think, you know, all these people getting called out. I mean, I don't think it ruins the scene per se, but like, you know, I think with the Instagram age and like the, you know, everyone will only ever upload that perfect take, you know?
Yeah.
Where
I think we've had a wave of it kind of, because there was a wave of it getting called out, and Jack did a fantastic video breakdown, and quite a few people have been doing some good stuff with it, is that we've had that wave now, where now when people putting up a piece of guitar music or them playing, there will be that second where they'll go, if it's fake, I'm going to get called out, so I might not put this up. And I think that's enough. I think that's okay now. I think it definitely has infused some people's playing and what they've been putting up recently.
But I think it ties into the point you said earlier about, you know, sometimes the guitar scene can be so kind of like the vitriol, and it can be a bit like overwhelming. Like,
yeah.
People are scared to upload anything with a fucking mistake in it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that it's interesting bringing this all the way around in many ways is that in the guitar group that we were talking about at the very beginning, there's a couple of things where someone's put a video up and gone, okay, excuse the mistakes, or that I flub the B flat on this, or whatever it may be. And most of the community's gone, it doesn't matter. That's amazing. You should do. There was a video that you put up of a girl playing a solo. I think it might have been to Shania Twain song.
Yeah, that's Vanessa.
And it wasn't a technically crazy guitar part. It wasn't, it was fairly academic, but it was played really nicely. Great.
The best thing about that whole bit, you know, obviously I know Vanessa very well. She's one of the best mates. Like, I just like seeing people play guitar. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily care how good they are. I just like knowing that there's other people out there who fucking love guitar.
We are most definitely here. Like, you know? There's a whole community.
So when Vanessa put that video, I mean, I had to literally. Vanessa was like, I don't know how to put it. It's like what you're saying, you know. Like everyone in that group's just so good, and I'm like, just put the fucking video up.
Just put it up, like.
Because I only ever really made that group just to talk about guitar and share guitar. It was never going to be like a dick swinging competition of like, you know. Here's one shred video. Here's another video. Yeah. Like, the best thing about that group is every week I never know what people are going to post.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That thing where you put up the sheet thing and everybody kind of went away and tried to play that was brilliant. That was great. And I think long may that continue as we're nearly coming up to the 2-hour mark here. So as we kind of sail past that, where are we at now yourself then? So musically, what are you up to now? How, with the lockdown and without the lockdown, how's that affecting you?
I mean, you know, so right now, I'm in a country Americana duo called White Little Lies. It's going brilliant. Just released an EP. I never considered myself a songwriter. I always considered myself a guitarist before a songwriter, you know. Songwriting wasn't, I guess you could say I was songwriting in the institution, but that kind of romantic notion of a songwriter writing words and chords.
Yeah, and beautifully crafted. Yeah.
That definitely came to me like later on, and I think now, that's where I'm happiest. You know, like I don't ever envisage myself being in a metal band again. I can definitely see myself playing metal. I'm always playing metal, and I'm always learning new metal songs. I don't really have the desire to be in a metal band anymore. But right now, the kind of the country thing, I'm loving it, and I love being in a band with Vanessa. You know, just harmonies and fucking all that good stuff.
One of the things that strikes me about with the project, and I put this on more than a couple of posts, is it sounds like it sounds like full of joy. It sounds like it's coming from a place of joy, you know. And if that's very difficult to get across musically, is a happiness and a joy, and it can only come from, I would say, it can only come from someone who's happy with their playing to a certain degree and happy themselves. It seems like you're in a good place, and that's come across on the music.
I think with the songwriting thing, I think one thing I had to do which was quite difficult. I had to undo that metal way of thinking where, like you strive for like that complicated riff or that fucking weird time. And,
crazy counterpoint stuff or whatever. Yeah.
Like, I love like bands like Meshuggah, where like you just listen and like you're listening to a groove that you don't even understand, but your face is just contorted and like
oh yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh. I had to undo all of that because I had to kind of get into the mindset of like just writing like a good song. I had to undo all the kind of like overthinking, like and accepting that a good song could be 3 chords. That's probably the hardest thing because the playing side of things, it's not so much an issue. Because like I've done covers gigs like 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week now for years. I've got me chops for that kind of stuff. So it's more piecing together. And I think being in a country band and especially working with Vanessa, it's made me almost kind of go back to square one and be like in like a songwriting kind of process. I listen to people like Billy Joel and like I've just listened to and I just go like how do you like just put that together in such a way? And I think like for me now I'm really starting to enjoy songwriters apart from bands, you know what I mean? So they're really like Simon and Garfunkel, massively love. Fleetwood Mac are probably one of my favorite bands ever now. Like I've gone backwards, these were never bands I was listening to in like my teen years. It was only when I got into like my 20s where I started going, ooh, have I not listened to this? Like Eva Cassidy. I remember listening to Eva Cassidy for the first time, just being like,
what a voice.
Oh, I mean, granted, she never wrote anything, I don't think herself, but I would argue her versions of songs are like as original as the original,
Somewhere Over the Rainbow and stuff.
And that kind of like Queen are my favorite band ever. They'll never be knocked off number 1. And I think I listen differently now that I've been songwriting for a few years, and I listen to how it's pieced together, and fucking.
Isn't it interesting that the first kind of album you listen to when you don't know anything or so much is Queen Greatest Hits, and now 20 odd years later you come all the way back and it's still there.
Well, I think that album specifically, the Greatest Hits 2. I remember because one thing I've always been really good at was harmonies. It was just one of those I used to piss me dad off.
Just have the magic ear for them,
I don't want to sound like like big headed, but I always just could sing the harmony. And I remember it got to the point where my dad would be like, "Just don't sing in the car," because whatever he was listening to,
you would harmonise.
I would harmonise it without even like thinking about it. And my dad would be like, "Why can't you just sing the fucking like the main bit?" But I remember listening to songs like A Kind of Magic, and like just those. It's a kind of magic, magic, and all those like just blossom.
The world opening up.
Like, I remember.
It makes sense that you gravitate towards country. Country's got like the best harmonies as well. Those girl singers, just amazing.
Yeah, I am completely weak at the knees when I hear a good harmony. So like bands like Little Big Town where there's like 4-part harmonies. Like me and Vanessa saw them live, and honestly, of any gig I've ever been to ever, I think it was just this kind of moment when I was like, in my musical life, this is where I belong now. This is and like a big part of like the duo that we're in is harmonies.
It's massive. It's a wonderful mix. It's a wonderful balance of voices, of textures of voices that I enjoy the most there. I'm a big fan of that. A big fan of kind of complementary stuff, especially if there's 2 guitar players or there's 2 vocals. I like the interplay there. I think it becomes more than the sum of its parts, as good music should do.
I think I do have a good voice singing, but I think my voice on my own is nowhere near as strong as when I'm harmonising with Vanessa. I think there's something about when our voices click together. There's a really nice kind of cohesion there, and
something more than the sum of its parts. Yeah,
and I think
that's what I enjoy the most about it.
But I think with Vanessa as well, I think that the what Vanessa really brings to the table, like Vanessa's not like the world's best guitar player. She's really good, but she has this ability to write like an absolutely unbelievable chorus.
Yeah.
Like, there's been times where she's like, I've got this idea, but I'm not too sure of it. And like she'll send me like a shitty WhatsApp, voice memo.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to it and just go, how the
where did that come from? Yeah.
And I'm singing it for like days.
Yeah. It's a hook.
Days. It's a beautiful thing, Mum.
Excellent. What a lovely way to end that. Like all this kind of, it feels like we've just played a set. It feels like we started off all kind of aggressive and like fucking and you're pitting, and then we're at the end now at the post-orgasmic chill, if you will, and sitting there going.
We're ending with the ballad.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to get Daniel on again, right? We've got to get Daniel on again. There's so much to cover. I would suggest checking out everything Daniel does, certainly the guitar groups and forums that he's curated, and most definitely, I know there's going to be a lot of the metalheads on here, but I do know there's a couple of metalheads who listen to this show who also love their country as well. I know they know what I'm talking about. And I'd suggest checking out those other projects that Dan's involved with as well, because they're fabulous, and that's what music is. You listen to everything, take what you want, and it might make you metal heavier. Who knows? But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming on, Daniel. Fantastic.
Thanks for having me. I've been really looking forward to this, so I've enjoyed it.
Great conversation there with Daniel. I think you find this, what I was saying at the beginning, held true. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, a lot of things that you don't get the chance to kind of really involve and talk about someone's whole approach to music as much as you do in the shorter ones. And the longer ones like this one, you really kind of go and find kind of really what that person is about, what their musical sort of outlook is as well. I will post links, as I always do, within the podcast show to Daniel's various projects, and I would suggest checking them all out. Absolutely superb, and I think we'll probably get Daniel on again. We should most definitely do that. Hopefully, in some small way, the quality of the show from an audio point of view is improving. I still will say a lot, and I still will say kind of a lot. I'm trying to get past that, but that's me. That's how I speak. That's how it really is. The next show after this is a great one. The next show is going to be Callum Smith from In Depth. Extreme metal vocals and that type of thing. We really kind of delve into that, and that's a good one for the vocalists out there who want to listen to that. Really enjoyed that one, and that's going to drop on Thursday, and then Friday will be the Facebook Live show, which we'll see what happens. We'll see how we get on with that. Lord knows. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. As always, share a like with everybody you think will enjoy it. If you can stop by at the Facebook Live on Friday at 8 o'clock, that'd be great too. And as always, when we get through this, I will see you at the show.